This afternoon we have our so-called anteater lab where we look at 4 different orders of mammals that engage in myrmecophagy. Myrmecophagy is a diet that features a lot of ants and or termites. So the 4 orders we deal with today represent that type of diet. But they're not the only mammals that eat ants. I've mentioned a few others in lecture. It's the bat-eared fox, sloth bear. There's a number of other species, including some marsupials and monotremes that you dealt with as well. So see if you can remember all of those. But today we're going to look at 4 orders. And the first group of therian or eutherian mammals we deal with are in the clade Xenarthra. The Xenarthra. And if you remember the consensus tree we have from our presentations here, you'll see we're going to be dealing with actually 3 different clades here. We'll deal with the Xenarthra and 2 orders in that, the Cingulata and the Pilosa. And then we'll deal with the Afrotheria, clade Afrotheria, which is 1 order in that, the Tubulidentata, the aardvarks. We'll deal with that. And the 3rd and last clade we'll deal with this afternoon is the Ferae, clade Ferae, which are the Pholidota. But the clade Ferae also includes the includes carnivores. And most carnivores don't eat ants, but there are some that do. Yeah, we're not featuring all of those in this lab. Another includes the aardwolf, type of hyena, that features them. So, like I mentioned, we'll first deal with the clade Xenarthra, and it has 2 orders. It's got the Cingulata, which are the armadillos, and then the order Pilosa, which are the sloths and the anteaters. I'm first going to deal with the Cingulata, though. Previously, back when I was a student, these animals were all in 1 order, or a number of them were in 1 order, and that was that's where the name Xenarthra comes from. Sometimes the order was called Xenarthra because of the structure of their vertebral columns, but they're also known as the order Edentata, or Edentates. And if you remember back from our discussion about different types of dentition, edentate means having no teeth. Well, some of these mammals do not have teeth, but a number of them do, including the first one we're going to deal with here, the armadillos. Armadillos in the order Cingulata. We have only 1 specimen here in lab, but it is an actual specimen, an armadillo. They're in the family Dasypodidae, and it is the 9-banded armadillo, Dasypus novemcinctus. And you can see how the Latin there refers to the fact that it has 9 bands that circle the body, or more or less appear to circle the body. So in these labs, in your handout, I have the 4 orders and the various families that I expect you to know. I also have a few other families listed in the handouts so that you have a more complete understanding of these groups. They're not very speciose orders like the bats or the rodents or some other groups we deal with. So it's not a lot to ask. So in this case, I expect you to know this family, the family Desipodidae. And we've got a skull of one right here, of a 9-banded armadillo. You can take this covering off. You already know that they have their skin, or their outer body covering, their integument is made up of keratinized plates that form over bony scutes. And they're a bit different from the last group that we will look at today, from pangolins in that regard. So here we have a skull of a 9-banded armadillo, and you can see that the teeth are peg-like. They're homodont teeth. They're all peg-like teeth, and they're all the same. The only mammals that have teeth like these are marine mammals like toothed whales. Here you can get a closer look at it. The skull is flat, fairly flattened, with a tubular snout. They're not strict anteaters. Many of these, here's the lower jaw, long and slender with these little peg-like teeth on top. They're not strict anteaters in the complete sense of that word, or two words depending on how you spell it, because they're more kind of omnivorous. Armadillos they'll eat all sorts of invertebrates, but they will eat ants and termites. When you had a chance earlier to see the skin of one of these, and now we're going to take another look at it. And this is the skeleton. Here again you see the upper part of the skull. I don't know what happened to the lower jaw of this particular animal, but it's a very distinctive skull shape. One thing I do want you to notice is the zygomatic arches are complete. When you see the sloths, you'll see that their zygomatic arch is not complete, and their teeth are a bit different too, although they are pretty homodont as well. So that's the skull. And looking at the body form, you can see that it is that it's kind of built like a tank, really. It's squat, it's got short, robust legs, and it's got powerful claws there for digging. These are prodigious diggers. They're a New World and neotropical species. They're not really fond of the cold, so although they extend in the southeastern, or they extend up into the southeastern United States, their range in the United States is limited by, or is thought to be limited by, climate and weather conditions. So it expands and contracts depending on how harsh the winters are. But again, you notice those short, powerful legs for digging, whereas if it was a runner, it would have long legs, long or slender legs. But this is here where you have to understand form and function on these animals, looking at the shape. There you see the hind leg, powerful, very robust femur. See, the tibia is pretty robust as well. also see that fusion of the vertebrae along by the pelvis. Lots of zygapophyses on the spinal vertebrae. And again, if you look at the forelimb again, short, powerful limbs with lots of muscle attachment for digging. Need to turn it around here so you can get a look at the head region. Yeah, it's got fairly decent sized ears, but the head is covered in that protective, those keratinized scales, for want of a better word, but there are bony plates underneath them. Here you can actually see where some of the keratinized material has been eroded away or knocked off over the years. You can see the bony scutes underneath. And you can also see the bands that we're talking about. You can actually count them. There are 9 bands there. So this is Dasypus novum cinctus, the 9-banded armadillo. Now, when we talked about form and function before, I wanted you to think about other animals that have similar body form, even if they're totally unrelated. And a particularly good example is the mole, Scapanus latimanus. You saw this in the so-called insectivore lab. But if you look at the structure of that skeleton, it's for all the world like a miniature armadillo. Now, obviously, it doesn't have the body armor, but you see a lot of other similarities in the structure of the limbs. Both of these are digging animals, spend tunnel underground and so on. But I brought out another specimen for you to compare it with as well. And that's a baby crocodile. And here you see, this one is behind plexiglass, so it's a little trickier to see. But crocodiles are aquatic, of course, but and so they have a swimming motion, which requires them to have short, powerful limbs. You can see that in this specimen here, this baby crocodile. And a burrowing existence is not that dissimilar to a swimming way of life. Now, admittedly, you'll see that the limbs of this juvenile crocodile are a bit more, the limb bones are a bit more slender than what you're seeing in that armadillo. Here again is the armadillo. All right, so there's some good information in your textbook about armadillos. There's also very good information in your lab manual. There is a second family. We're just dealing with the Dasypodidae, but in your textbook, your lab manual, you'll see that there's another family mentioned, the Chlamyphoridae, and there are a number of different genera in that family. 8 genera are listed by Kelton Patton, and they pretty much extend throughout South America and all the way up into through Mexico and through the southeastern United States. Okay, so that is the order Cingulata. So I'll take a stop here, then we're going to deal with the order Pilosa.